All right, ladies and gentlemen, November 17th. All right, we are very fortunate today from the lovely state of Arizona, specifically in Scottsdale. We are here with real estate extraordinaire, Marcy Murphy. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Marcy.
Hi, thanks, Rick.
Here you are. You like that little intro? All right, so there's that sound I was telling you about. All right, so tell us a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this wonderful thing called real estate. Give us a little insight on you, please.
I got into real estate in '98 and have been full-time in Arizona since '03.
All right, cool. Yeah, you've seen a lot of changes in that time in your market alone, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the average sale price, the amount of realtors, the amount of people.
All of the amount of traffic, yes, all of the above.
All right, so you know what? I just learned something. I didn't realize you were part-time for a while and then got into it full-time.
It wasn't so much that I was part-time as that I was relocating. I moved twice or three times in California, and then I moved back to New Jersey for a little while, and then back here. So I was moving around a lot for those few years, and then once I settled down here is when I was really able to focus on doing my business full time.
I gotcha. Okay, cool. Good. Yeah, and you've had a unique. Well, I would say unique because you're always in the top 3 or 4 teams, if not number 1 in your office and so forth in Arizona for us at Berkshire Hathaway. But you had you had a steady, I would say, really consistent climb in the way because of the way you do your business. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. Yes, I'm very fortunate to have fell into the Mike Ferry system pretty early on, and that gave me that consistency regardless of the market conditions.
Right. And tell us about that. So what does that mean exactly? And because, obviously you and I are from the same place. I've been around Mike since 1990, and I've been, I've worked for him for years, and I'm very much into the system and, still remain really close with Mike. How would you describe that? Tell us what that means and looks like over the years and, how you climb that ladder.
Well, a couple of the big things that Mike gives us is the structure to be able to generate business regardless of the market conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you stick with that structure, the market will tell you, what you might need to adjust to reach your goals, but it's not going to dictate whether or not you're capable of succeeding.
Right. I like that. Okay. So what kind of, what kind of activities and things do you do so you can, regardless, and I like what you said there too, because really when the market, 2006, 7, and 8, basically the sellers just changed at that point. It was a whole different market then, but give us an idea of what that means, as far as how you work it to succeed no matter what's going on with the market.
Well, just the consistency of your prospecting. You need, whether you're a door knocker or getting on the phone, but you need to be reaching out and talking to people every single day, and having a minimum standard for that. And that minimum standard is what you could potentially adjust based on your goals, based on the market conditions, who you're calling, how many people you need to talk to in a day. But that's the minimum. You do that one thing, and it doesn't matter what the market's doing, you're going to be able to find business every day.
Yeah. For instance, the amount of people you talk to is very consistent with the transaction numbers you want to do, the lead sources. I just did Success Series last week in Nevada, and people from Arizona and California can tune in on Google Meets, and I tell them I have people raise their hand. Okay, who's talked to 15 people, 5 days a week, 60 days a work quarter, 240 work days in one complete year? And nobody, unless I have somebody like Andrew Kozlowski or, Rochelle Vinoy, who both came last week, unless they're in the crowd, then they raise their hand. And so I challenge them because I know that you've been through this, and I challenge them because my first year in Mike, that's what I did. I made my minimum contact goal for a year, and everything in my business and life changed. So that's kind of like what you're describing, right? If you stick to that minimum contact goal, regardless of how, like you said, door knocking, calling, you can even be social media, find reasons to call people, however, but you got to eventually talk to them. And if you do that for a complete year at least, then obviously you get most people, you really get addicted to the results and everything in your business and your life will change, right?
Absolutely. I remember my first full year of being full-time and following that plan. I thought I won the lottery. It was more money than I'd ever made in a year, and it's exciting, and it does kind of get addictive because you when you start seeing the results, you want more of that. For some people, it's interesting. I guess that I would say that's true of people like you and me, Rick. But I also see on the other side, people start getting results, and then they get complacent. It's like that doesn't necessarily spur them to do more. For me, it made me want to do more. But for some people, I have seen it do the opposite. So I guess you have to have those goals. You have to have things you want to accomplish for it to excite you.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so true. You say that. A couple things. Number one is a lot of people are so adverse to contacting people consistently because they don't allow it to gel and become a habit. And then once you're doing it and you see the results and the consistency and the confidence, and you wake up in the morning and you go, I know what to do today, which is a great feeling in real estate, right? They never let themselves get there. But then you're right. A few people will do it a little bit. And somebody can tell me, I have a goal of selling 50 homes, but they've never sold 25. And when they get on that 25 pace and they're making more money than they ever had, and they get complacent and they kind of level out. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, if this ends up panning out, right?
Absolutely. And I think, again, it has to do with your goals. And for some people, it has to do with their background. For some people, how they grew up is going to also have a lot of influence on what they believe themselves to be capable of.
Yeah. So that's a true statement. And some of us have to work on that. It's a total full-time job to keep your mindset right or grow. Like I know you're into being in shape, and you guys are rock climbers, you and your husband, which is awesome. But that takes work too, right? It also takes work to have a positive mindset too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just like I talk to people in your office, and they're like, "Oh, Marcy, yeah, she's all about it. I know she's making her calls today." So you have that reputation too of somebody that go out and that took a while, but once it becomes a habit, you wouldn't consider not doing it now, would you?
Not at all. Because I won't feel good at the end of the day. Just like if you don't work out, if you're somebody who does exercise regularly, if you don't get any exercise at the end of the day, you don't feel good. It's the same thing. If you're somebody who prospects every day to generate business, you're not going to feel good at the end of the day if you didn't do it.
That's a true statement. And even on the days that you don't, well, first off, I agree with you. And I think for whether it's prospecting, working out, eating right, you just know what you feel like, right? Like for working out, you know what you feel like when you work out. Like the whole day feels better, goes differently than when you don't. And you kind of say, why would I ever take that away from myself when it's available? That's the kind of way I look at it.
Right. And and it's the same thing though. There's a day you might wake up and it's like, you know what? I just want to stay in bed. I don't want to get up and go run, 5 miles. I just want to cuddle up and stay here, and I'll just skip today. But then the whole day is slow and sluggish, and it's the same thing. It's like, you know what? I don't feel like getting on the phone and making my contacts. for whatever reason, and then your whole day is kind of feel like you're making up for not doing what you know you should have done.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. So just give them a little insight of your business, like where you are this year and maybe what your goal is next year and all that good stuff, please.
So this year's been interesting because the market really shifted in our market, and the market shifted, my income slowed down, my mindset went south, and it took me a minute to figure it out and I didn't adjust as quickly as I have in the past, but once I caught myself and I became aware of it, it was like, oh, okay, I need to get back on track. But what I did have change this year is I had fewer high-end sales. My multi-million-dollar listings weren't selling. My multi-million-dollar buyers decided they wanted to hold off and wait and see what the economy did. So my commission check was much smaller. My average commission check was smaller this year. So I did my contacts, I did my transactions, but I still made less money this year. So my big goal for next year is to adjust my schedule to compensate for that, because I can't assume that those multi-million-dollar sales are going to come back. So I'd rather assume that I need to adjust what I'm doing to compensate for it and just do more transactions next year to get my income back to where I want it to be.
All right, cool. I love it. So you just got to make on-site adjustments based on what's going on with the market. Although I do think your market has picked up a little bit, but like you said, you can't rely on that. You have to, go with the numbers and, act like a real business so exactly where, to spend your time. So just so they understand, like your lead sources, what would you say the main ones for you are?
Well, my main source is definitely my past clients and my sphere of influence. And, that's from being full-time in this market for over 20 years and working that source consistently, which I wasn't doing early in my career. It's funny. It's like some people don't want to call people they don't know. They're comfortable calling their friends and family. Some people it's vice versa, which was me. I had no problem calling expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold. I'll call people I don't know all day long, but I didn't want to ask my friends and family for business. So I had a harder time getting comfortable with calling my sphere of influence. But once I got comfortable and figured out how I could work that source in a way that worked for me, that really did change everything as far as the structure of my business. So that is still the biggest source. However, I also know that I still want to be growing my business. I still talk to people I don't know every single day. So I'm still calling expireds, for sale by owners, for rent by owners, just listed, just sold. And I'm developing a circle of attorneys that I'm also in contact with regularly now.
Okay, cool. So you definitely mix it up, and sometimes the lead source. I mean, it's always, let's face it, you've been in the business for a while, so your sphere should always be your number one source. But after that, it can change, because sometimes when the market starts going and it's hot, and just solds are they're almost as good as expireds if the market's cranking.
I think just listed if the market's cranking, just sold if the market's slower. Because if the market's doing really great, people want to know when something new comes on the market, because they
Good
sell
point.
so quickly. But and they're not that impressed that you sold a house. They're more impressed that you listed a house. But if you sell a house in a market that's slower, people want to know that something sold in their neighborhood. That's good news for them. So I think that's how I'm going to determine which of those two I'm going to be more focused on.
Cool. Excellent. I love it. Yeah, you're paying attention. So what about the expireds right now? Are the expireds decent, or is there, because it seems to be like there's been a decent amount of them
there
in the last
are
few months,
a lot of expired listings in our market, yes, absolutely. and I call them all every day.
Yeah. How many a day would you say you have on average there?
Well, in the market in general, it's going to be a much bigger number than what I'm calling on. I mean, as far as the market in general is concerned, let's see. So I track my numbers every week. So on average, right now in our market, we're getting about 4,000 canceled and expired listings per month.
Wow.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. As far as
like
how many
70,
of those
75 a day. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't call on all of those. I mean, I have my geographic area, my price point. So I would say I'm probably getting about 30 a day that I'm calling on.
That's still a really good lead source. Still a really good, healthy amount of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And I know you keep them in work old expireds too. Give them an idea of like how many people do you talk to on a day, just so they understand what your contact goal is.
My minimum standard is 24 contacts a day.
Okay, good. And that's in order to achieve your goal.
Correct.
Yep. Cool. Well, all right. My favorite question is, so you've been doing this for a while now. You've had awesome success. Once again, this year, I know this year is not your favorite year, but you're still way up there in the top 3 or 4 in Arizona for Berkshire Hathaway. And I haven't seen the end of October numbers. That's just as far as the end of September. But so somebody's, trying to take their business to the next level and really, do well. What would you tell them the top 3 pieces of advice? And if you've already said a couple of them, it's okay, say them again. But top 3 pieces of advice to really make it in this business.
Top 3 pieces of advice. Number 1 is find an amazing mentor or hire a coach.
Great idea.
Especially if you're new, just trying to figure it out on your own is, admirable, but not profitable. And that's number 1. You need the accountability and the structure. And set strong, exciting goals. That's the next thing. You have to have those goals to get you going. And then the third would be to work from a daily schedule. I really think that's one of the biggest things I learned from Mike that's made a difference in my career is that every night at the end of the day, I print out my schedule for the following day. From the minute I wake up until the minute my work day is done. And so I know how much time I have allotted to do my prospecting, when I need to start getting ready to go on my appointments. It's laid out, so it's productive. I'm not I'm not just winging it. I'm not winging my career. I'm not winging my day to day. I'm not winging my career. I've got it's a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan. And so just give an idea to how long have you been coached by the Mike Ferry system?
22 years.
22 years. And you've had a coach the whole time. You still go to events. You pick the ones you go to, right? So
Absolutely.
that's just to stay. Yeah, stay. Tell me a little about that and the friends and I know you have groups and masterminds, and give a little insight as to how helpful that is to you.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Tony Smith was here last week doing a productivity school. And when you asked me about the contacts, one thing I wanted to mention, one thing I picked up from Tony is to allot your contacts in thirds. So, for example, I make 24 contacts a day. And what he said is, if you're making 24 contacts, so that's 3 sets of 8, right? So the first third are the contacts you need to make to survive and pay your minimum expenses, your mortgage, your food, your electric bill, whatever that is. And then the next 8 contacts are to support your business, pay for whatever your marketing, your assistant, whatever those business expenses are. And then the final 8 contacts are what pay for the exciting goals that you've set. and it really helps you to focus on getting to that end of the list, because if you can half it and only do part of your contacts, and you're going to survive, you're going to get your bills paid, but you're not going to have what's left to do the fun stuff. So that was a pretty cool thing I picked up from Tony last week. But as far as like the friends and the masterminds, I would say I almost get more at this stage in my career from the people I talk to day to day that are like-minded. And as far as like thinking bigger, setting bigger, more exciting goals, seeing what some of these people are doing is so inspiring. You know, you're not necessarily around people in your office that are doing huge, not just huge amounts of production, but that are, you know, going on the Ritz-Carlton cruise, like, you know, on the Ritz-Carlton yacht. I have a friend who, that was a goal. She took her niece, and they had this amazing adventure, phenomenal vacation. Never would have thought to set a goal to to get on the Ritz-Carlton yacht and take a cruise. That's amazing. She just helped, you know, being around her, I think bigger.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, you are the sum total of the 5 or 10 people that you hang around with or talk to all the time. And, you know, since you've been exposed to for me, it was years ago, it was the M3 group. That was the first one.
Yep.
There was 3 M's, Mike Millionaire Mastermind Group, and that's how I met, you know, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Mike Vance, and all the people that were used to go to those too. So that's such an important point to remember, that who you talk to, who you surround yourself with, is a huge part of your environment and your results, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the best things about the Mike Ferry program, is that if you go to the events, you're going to be amazed by the people that you're surrounded by, and they're awesome people. I mean, I've made great friends who I travel with. I've been to their weddings, to their kids' weddings. You know, it's awesome.
So it is awesome. It's such a great thing, and I still have friends way back early on that I communicate with via social media and what have you, and they're just lifetime friends that I've met through my, early starting with the Mike Ferry organization in 1990. And I think the thing I think it was when I went to my first event was, it was kind of like I was already doing well, and I thought that was it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to maintain. And then I heard these other people, and it like gave me the license to step it up a little bit mentally, and then step it up again and step it up again. And it's like almost anything's possible if you keep working it, right?
Exactly. And that's what you see, you know, it's being surrounded by people who are doing amazing things. You know, and you don't hear those,
I know it.
You don't hear that in your day-to-day. You don't hear what's possible in this industry. It's really one of the great things about being in real estate is you can get out as much as you're willing to put in. And as big as you're able to think is how big you're able to grow your business and produce.
Yeah.
There's no limits in this business except for what you set on yourself.
Exactly right. And that's the key right there. What limits are you setting on yourself? What ceiling have you set? You know, I was at the 50th year anniversary of Mike Ferry, and I saw a bunch of people that I hadn't seen in a long time. And it's amazing how, you know, what they're doing now. And, you know, I mean, because this business can morph into other things too, if you really want it to. It's amazing what opportunities you have if you just stick to the schedule. Some people just never give themselves that gift of sticking to that schedule, like, you know, your point number 3. If you have a coach and you have some accountability and you set high goals, and then you have a schedule that turns into your daily business plan, and you follow it for a while, you may have opportunities show up that you didn't even plan for too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, people think that, you know, they want this freedom and flexibility in their schedule, so the idea of printing a schedule and sticking to it every day might sound counterintuitive, but it's that schedule that gives you that freedom. It's because I have that schedule that I'm able to stop my day at 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday and at 4 o'clock on Fridays and have weekends off. It's because I stick to it. on the time that I'm supposed to, that I have that freedom when I want it. And but it, so it is a little bit counterintuitive, but when you really do it, you realize how much it frees you up. And those are limitations too. It's like, you talk about the limitations imposed on yourself, and you can think as big and do as much as you want. I have limitations that I have set on myself, and it's purposeful, because my family is my top priority. So I do stop when at 6 p.m. and have dinner with my husband, and I have limitations on what I'm willing to do on the weekends because that's my time with friends and family. And those are priorities for me. It's nights and weekends. Those can be the time periods that push you into, maximum production. If you're willing to sacrifice that time.
Right. Right. And, like you said, you also, because of your discipline and your schedule, you're able to take that time off from 6 on Monday through Thursday and after 4 on Fridays and on the weekends and do the things that you want to do with your husband because you've been disciplined and scheduled during that time.
Exactly. That was one of the biggest lessons I needed to learn, because when I first got full-time in real estate, I was working 24/7. And it was not good for my marriage. It was not good for my relationship with my son. So that was a decision I had to make, was to get control over that. And I know people who they're willing to sacrifice those things. Those things aren't as important to them, or they're single or whatever it is. And the career is the number one most important thing. My career supports my family and my relationships and the things I want to do with my family and friends. But for some people, it is the career. And in which case, if you devote a couple of nights a week or one day on the weekend, that is going to be what separates you from your competition.
Absolutely. Well, Marcy Murphy, I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out today. I'm sure people got a lot of nuggets, and they'll be listening to this. It'll be on those 2 apps forever, Podbean and the Apple app, also on my YouTube channel. So thank you very much, Marcy. I really appreciate you taking your time out today.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
You too. Bye, Rick.
Bye, Marcy. Thanks.